Good morning, welcome back everyone. Caesar thinks he's a lap dog, but he's not really a Chihuahua, is he? I think he's just trying to schmooze up to my cereal bowl. JJ's here, he's down by my feet, but he's kind of camera shy, so I think that's just where he's going to stay. As mentioned in the last episode, I'm going to start off here with this house and show you the plans of the roof, how that's going to be raised up. And I also found something on the other side of the house while I was digging for our foundation that I want to show off. All of these videos from this point on are going to be divided into thirds. So you're going to start off with this house and then go to the rental up the street and then end up with Dad's house. There's going to be chapter markers at the bottom so you can just jump ahead to whatever portion you'd rather watch. Well, it looks like it's almost bright enough outside. So as soon as we're done eating my cereal, we'll begin the tour. This is the back end of the house, and the part of the house which is standing up the highest is the original part from 1864. And the next step down right over there, that is probably from around 1885. And then the lowest part over here, that is from about 10 years ago when I put that on. So that was quite a process to build. And it started off with a really long trench for the footer, which a friend and I dug out together. We couldn't get any machinery in there to do it because just the way the land was, and it wasn't very big anyway, so it only had to go down 42 inches. There's no basement under there, and I think it's about 3 feet wide. So after that got dug out, we poured the concrete for the footer, and I built the block wall because he didn't know how to do that. And then he had another project to go on to, so I framed everything up and put insulation on the outside, which is kind of strange, but this is one of those super insulated houses, so there's insulation on the outside and there's foam insulation on the inside in the stud cavities, and that makes for a very tight, well-insulated house. So after that got done, the sheeting and the roof went on, followed by the windows, and finally the siding, but that's where we are. So the roof of the 10-year-old section is going to come off, and a second-story addition is going to go on there, and the 1880 roof is going to be removed, and a new one is going to go on to match up with the old 1864 roof on the main part of the house. Over on this side of the house, I've been doing some digging, and the whole reason for that is I want to put a foundation in from the edge here where the porch is, come straight out to about there, and then have it tie into this foundation over here. So I'm just making this little section a little bit wider, mostly because the foundation that it's sitting on right now is not very good. But this is also related to the whole roof repair. So the roof for this roof right here used to start here and then go straight down to there, and the angle got changed and I don't like it. I'm trying to restore this house back to the way it was. So this roof is going to come off, so actually it's going to start, the new wall is going to be over here, and it's going to go from there all the way up to there. Actually the whole thing's going to be raised a little bit because this roof is going up about 16 inches, something like that. So let's take a look at this hole a little better. When you have an old house and you start digging, you're going to run into some things that you not really expect. And this is one of them right here. So what is it, right? Well, let's get a closer look down the hole. And I'll give you a couple clues of what it could be. So it's circular. There's water in the bottom of it, and it's not a well. I can tell you that right now. So it's not a well, and then this pipe over here is not related to it, but if it were up a little bit higher, like right about here, coming straight across over to here, then it would be related to it. So those are your two clues. And so here's what's going on. I'm about 5 feet down. I've been digging this by hand, and you're probably wondering why. Why would I do this by hand? Well, I can't take all the credit for it. I had the guy that helped me dig on the other side of the house 10 years ago. He did some of this, so he dug down to about this level here, and then I had another friend. She dug just about a little bit farther to about this level right here, and then I extended the hole from the width from here to there, and then I went down the rest of the way from there down to there, which is about 18 inches so far. So it's got to go down to 9'4". So why am I doing it by hand? Well, I didn't want to disturb this. So this house is going to be as much of a restoration as I can make it, and I want to keep this thing So if you haven't figured it out yet, this is called a cistern, and what it does, it holds water, holds rainwater, and let's see if we can get a pretty good view of what's going on in here. So you can just see the outside edge of it, and it's a circle which is about 5 feet diameter, and I'd say it's close to 5 feet deep. Now the top was taken off, and there's cement up there, right there, which is the floor of the kitchen at the moment. And this is all going to change a little bit, so it's a little bit safer. But how these things used to work was right about somewhere in here would be a drain pipe from a gutter, which would go down to this side over here. So there's a separating wall right in the middle, and the water would go over there, and then it would filter through the in between the bricks and the mortar, and then it would give you cleaner water over on this side. And then up above there'd be like a kind of a dome to this whole thing, and that's where a hand pump would be, and that would be your water source. So if you didn't have a well, this is what you would do. Though I know this one came in later. This one came in around 1885 or so, when they put that second addition on the house with the roof that I'm trying to raise. And there is also a well here, but there used to be, well, there was contamination in wells in a lot of cities. Just because a lot of people had farm animals, and just bacteria and stuff would end up getting down the well and polluting them, because they weren't very deep. The one that we have here is only about 26 feet deep, and that was, I guess, easily pollutable. So the next best option you had back then for clean water was to filter out your rainwater and hold it in a large tank, which is what this is right here. So my goal in time is to preserve this and rebuild it, because you can see some of the wall is missing here, going all the way up to there. And you can kind of tell, looking at my foundation, got this big cement lintel and a massive crack right there, which the house is sitting on, with 1, 2, 3, 4 courses of 8-inch block above it, which is a lot of weight. And right now they're being supported by a couple of 4x4s, and that's definitely not the safest thing, but it's doing the job for right now. So you can see why I want to put a footer right down here next to it. That way I preserve the tank for historical references or purposes, and then have it go over. And then I'm going to get rid of the old stone foundation and put in a whole new block foundation up to the new right there. So obviously this thing was full of dirt at one point in time, and that's how they were able to pour this cement lintel across it. And they didn't, I guess they assumed that cement was like the best thing in the world back then. This was poured, I guess, around 1910 when this addition was put on. And when I got the house in 1998 or 9, right around there, this whole wall was collapsed. So there wasn't any block here. It was all wood sitting on the cement thing, and it was collapsed. And I just did a real quick repair. I poured concrete over top of what I assumed was solid, and it wasn't. But I leveled it out, and then I put some courses of block above there to keep the, just for more durability, so there wouldn't be any more rot in the future. But so this was all sitting on dirt, which was actually the original owner's trash pit. So they needed something to fill this in. By 1910 we had running city water here, so they had no need for this anymore, or the well. So they filled it in with their garbage, which, you know, you would think, who wants to play around in that? But I do, because I was trying to learn as much about the people that lived here, what they ate. So there's like a whole bunch of bones, chicken bones, pork bones, beef bones, things like that. It showed tons of broken glass and lots of neat little artifacts. But it showed me how they lived back then, and it also showed me what they ate. But it gave me a lot of insight as to who these people were and how they lived. And I'll show you in the next video all the neat things I found in the cistern. But for now, we're going to head over and work on the rental. Okay, finally, the long-awaited question of what am I going to do about this? And the answer is the door. I'm going to take the door and cut the bottom third off and attach that part permanently right here. And the top part of the door will act as a regular door to get in and out of the closet. So the great part about this is that bottom part will permanently cover up the wiring over here, so I don't have to worry about putting any drywall or anything else to cover that up to make it safe. So if you're thinking, why I'm just ruining an old door, a 102-year-old door, well, you're kind of right about that, but someone else beat me to it. Check this out. Right here, a dog has been scratching at the door, which isn't so bad, but the part that I don't like is this part right here, because someone had kicked the door from the other side, splitting this wide open. So I'm going to be cutting right along here, and everything from here up, which is going to be the opening part of the door, will look pretty good, and everything from here down, which looks awful, will be hidden permanently inside the wall. I start off drawing the line where I want to cut the door. The hinge pins come out, and the door gets laid down on sawhorses. Caesar, I have to use a circular saw now. Can you go to your doggy bed? Thank you, Caesar. I put a 60-tooth blade on the saw because the more teeth the blade has, the smoother the cut will be across the door. The bottom of the door goes back in the frame, and the bottom hinge pin goes back in too. There's a pretty big gap between the door and the wall, so I take a measurement and screw on some scrap 2x4s so I have something to nail the door to later on in the project. On the top side of the door, I mark out where I want to put the third hinge. Unlike in the last video, when I used a router to cut the mortise for the hinges on the door frame, I go the old-fashioned way this time, using a hammer and chisel. It definitely takes a lot longer, and I'm nowhere near as accurate as I am using power tools, but I wanted to give it a try. I checked to see if the hinge fits, and it's the right depth, but I accidentally made the mortise 1/8 of an inch too wide. So, to try to cover up my mistake, I brush on some dark stain. Then, I drill some pilot holes for the screws, and screw the hinge to the door. On the frame, I mark out the hinge with a sharp awl, hoping this will give me a more accurate measurement. I chisel out the last bit of wood for the mortise, and the hinge fits in so much better this time. I screw the hinge to the frame, the top of the door gets put back in, and both hinge pins get tapped into the hinges. So the reason I didn't permanently attach the bottom of the door earlier is because I knew there would be an irregular gap between the top and the bottom. So to fix that, I just slide a few paint stirrers underneath the door until I get an equal gap between the top and the bottom, and then I just nail the door into place. I nailed down some 1x12s left over from another project for the floor of the closet. Then I try fitting in a piece of drywall for one of the side walls, and there is no way this is going to fit in there. So I score the piece on the back, fold it over itself, and unfold it inside the closet. There's still a visible seam where I unfolded it, but the advantage of doing it this way instead of cutting it into 2 pieces is I don't have to tape the seam before mudding it. The rest of the drywall goes up, and I cut the hole for the attic access door. The door is just a simple frame made of pine boards cut 2 inches wide. Because the attic is open to outside temperatures, I insulate the door with a piece of 2-inch foam board. Then I staple on 1/4 inch Luan on the front and back. A lock goes on this door, so I clamp on a door lock jig, drill out the hole for the lock and the bolt. Then I screw on the deadbolt and attach the door onto its hinges. The easiest way I've found to align the lock plate hole is to coat the end of the deadbolt with marker. Actuate the lock and wiggle the door a little, and right there is the spot to drill the hole. The last thing to do is to staple on a weather-tight gasket to keep any wind from coming in around the door. So if you're wondering why I put a lock on this door, it's because some tenants of the past have stashed things in houses that I really wish they wouldn't have. It could be anything like old tires, broken electronics, even dirty diapers. I have seen everything. So to protect myself, I put a lock on places like this where they could stash things. Now, this closet is just about done. It just needs a little bit of plaster and paint, but that's for another day. Let's go head over to my dad's house. If you missed the last episode, the last thing I did here was pour down the self-leveling underlayment where the bathtub is going to go. The underlayment has completely dried now and the form boards are pulled off, and I drilled the hole for the drain. The board that I used to create the channel for the tub drain is not exactly square to the base of my wall, and the reason for that is because the floor joist is in the way. So the floor joist edge is right about here, and that puts it right in the middle of where my tub drain would go if I had it going straight out this way. So I had to swing it to the side, which created another problem. If I use a standard tub drain, it doesn't really work in this situation because the bottom is swung over like that, so it fits in the floor, but now the top misses the hole. So my way of fixing that is using one of these. This is a flexible overflow tub drain, so the bottom lines up like this, it's swung over to the side, and the top still fits in the overflow hole.
The manufacturer of the drain says to use 100% silicone caulking on all drain parts that come in contact with the bathtub. That old-fashioned plumber's putty I like to use voids the warranty. The drain gets seated from underneath the tub, and the escutcheon gets screwed on first by hand, then tightened 1/2 turn with a drain wrench. The excess caulking gets wiped up with a paper towel. The overflow is tightened with a plastic nut, the safety seal is cut out, and the finished escutcheon is snapped on. For the bathtub wall support, I push the tub tight to the wall and check for level. Then I mark on the studs along the back lip, take a measurement between the top and the bottom lip of the underside of the tub, and mark the difference with another line. This is the line I follow to attach the 2x4 support. Some 2x6 braces get added inside the wall, and the tub goes back in for a test fit. Everything looks good underneath, so I take a measurement of the foam brace on the bottom and mark out the shape on the floor. The tub has to sit in a bed of mortar to be installed properly, so I mix up some non-modified thin-set mortar in a 5-gallon bucket. I put down a bead of silicone caulking as a cushion between the brace and the tub, pour the mortar into the marked off area, and lay the tub down into it. I jump and wiggle the tub around until it's well seated, and the mortar oozes out from underneath. I check for level front to back and side to side. Now, you would think that a bathroom built not even 50 years ago would be square, but it's not. So, a few shims fix the gaps. The tub gets held in place with large galvanized washers and screwed in along every stud.
The bathtub is now permanently in place, so now I can go build the closet. I'll give you a close-up view of the closet. Over here where the door is at, I put somewhat of a header in. It's non-load bearing, which is why it's on its side. And it's 82 inches from there to the floor, and that gives me enough room for the trim to go on and still have room for a door. If I decide to put a door in, and I'm not sure yet. I just might do the curtain thing like I did in the last bathroom. In here I got my studs in the corner, that way I have something for my drywall to hold on to. I did the same thing over here, but they're on their side because I couldn't fit the 2x4s in the right way, and there's cross bracing for the other bathroom. This one's holding the valve on. And up here, I actually had to notch this one out to make it fit. On the outside, this bunch is kind of big there, and the reason for that is this is for hanging drywall on the outside, this one's for holding the drywall on the inside of the closet, and these are just a couple of spacers here, but it also gives me some width, so I have room to put my or something to nail onto when I put my trim on for the door. And over here, this is 32 inches from that piece to that piece, so to be 16 on center, I really just could have put one stud down the middle, but it would have been in the way of my plumbing, so I put two in instead, and that way the valve can go in about here, and nothing will be in my way. And down here I continued on with the same bracing like I did around the bathtub already, and I held it in with those big metal washers. And in the next video, I'll show you exactly what those braces are for. That's it for this episode. If you liked what you saw, hit the thumbs up button. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to ring the notification bell. Caesar and I will see you next time. Welcome back, everyone. Caesar thinks he's a lapdog, except he just got up. What are you doing? And he's kind of camera shy, so he likes to hang out down there. So now he's leaving. Caesar, you were blocking the camera. Finally, the long-awaited question of will Caesar stay in place? And the answer is, he ain't gonna do it. And Caesar is walking away again. The long-awaited answer of what am I gonna do about this, not this. So the top part of the door will still function as an actual door. The dog is messing with me. Now, this bathroom, also known as a closet, is just about done. I have seen everything. So the one thing I want to do is keep Caesar in the shot, and it's not happening. So I got to get some more dog treats. And don't forget to hit that, okay. All right. Well, can you get you a little closer? Oh, I know, you're so grumpy today.